Okay, let's dive straight into this. Welcome to this explainer where we're going to break down some seriously fascinating claims about one of Hinduism's four major pilgrimage sites, the Char Dham. Specifically, we are zooming in on the Jagannath Temple over in Puri, Odisha. Now, the source material we're looking at today comes right out the gate with a huge, bold claim. It literally asserts that when it comes to this ancient temple, the standard laws of science, geography, and chemistry, they completely fail. So today, we're going to unpack these alleged anomalies and see exactly what the source is presenting.
Our source actually kicks things off by posing this massive question: can a single temple really defy the laws of physics? They set up this interesting context, pointing out how, as we've adopted more Western cultural norms and strict scientific frameworks, a lot of folks have started questioning the very existence of God. But the source introduces the Jagannath Temple as this massive roadblock to modern skepticism. They're presenting a whole list of baffling mysteries that they claim will just completely blow your mind.
Section 1. The Foundational Legend and the Wooden Idol's Origin.
All right, according to the source, the whole story kicks off way back in 3102 BC. The legend goes that after Lord Krishna's earthly death, there was this mysterious, unburnt piece of metal left over from his cremation. A hunter named Zara eventually ends up releasing it into a river. Fast forward a bit, and King Indradumna finds this mystical log and hires an artisan to carve it into idols. But there's a major catch here. The artisan demands exactly 21 days of total, uninterrupted isolation to do the work. Well, the queen ends up forcing the door open early, the artisan vanishes into thin air, and what's left behind are three incomplete wooden idols: Lord Jagannath, his brother Balapadra, and his sister Subhadra.
Let's move to Section 2 and see how this builds, the beating heart mystery. So here's where the source actually tries to use science to explain a massive religious mystery. If you think about it, almost all Hindu temple idols are carved out of stone or cast in metal, right? But the Jagannath idols are made entirely of wood. Why? Well, the source claims that the unburnt piece of metal from the legend, which they refer to as Krishna's beating heart, is essentially this ancient, advanced energy-transmitting device placed right inside the idol. Because metal and stone are good conductors, they allegedly couldn't safely contain that intense energy. Wood, on the other hand, acts as a bad conductor or an insulator to safely absorb and contain this incredible power. Now, because wood naturally degrades over time, these idols have to be replaced every 12 years. And the ritual for doing this sounds like something straight out of a thriller. First, the entire city of Puri gets its power completely cut. Total blackout. Next, the head priest is heavily blindfolded and his hands are wrapped in thick, heavy gloves. Finally, in 100% absolute darkness, he transfers this entity, called the Brahma Padarth, from the old idol to the new one. And here's the wild part. Priests who have actually performed this say that holding the Brahma Padarth feels exactly like holding a live, twitching rabbit. And the stakes here are literally life and death. The source states very firmly that according to deeply held belief, if anyone were to look directly at the Brahma Padarth with their naked eyes, it would result in instant death. No second chances. This alleged lethal energy is exactly why those blindfolds, the thick gloves, and the total citywide blackouts aren't just suggestions. They are strict, mandatory protocols that are absolutely still followed today. All right, Section 3. Define the laws of physics.
Let's rapid-fire some of these massive physical mysteries the source presents. First up, they claim the flag at the very top of the temple constantly flies in the exact opposite direction of the wind. That obviously defies basic aerodynamics. Second, the massive main dome of the temple allegedly casts absolutely zero shadow on the ground, no matter what time of day it is. And third, the airspace directly over the temple is essentially a supernatural no-fly zone. The source points out that planes and drones don't fly there, and even birds instinctively refuse to fly over the dome or rest on the roof. It's just an anomaly that logic really struggles to explain.
And speaking of that physics-defying flag, it sits at the pinnacle of a structure that is a staggering 214 feet high. Now imagine having to scale that completely barehanded, every single day. The source highlights the incredible dedication of the temple priests, who literally risk their lives to make this climb to change the flag daily. And the pressure is unimaginable, because tradition dictates that if they miss this ritual for even one single day, the entire temple would have to shut down for 18 years. And this brilliantly illustrates how the mysteries extend right into the temple kitchens too. They prepare the temple food, known as the prasad, over a simple wood fire. The setup is 7 clay pots stacked vertically, right on top of each other. Now, basic thermodynamics says the pot closest to the flame should cook first, right?
But the source claims that here, logic is totally inverted. The food in the topmost pot cooks completely first, then the second one down, all the way until the bottom pot, the one literally touching the fire, cooks absolutely last.
On top of that cooking anomaly, the source points out a massive logistical miracle. This temple kitchen feeds a wildly unpredictable number of devotees every single day. We're talking 500 people on a slow day, all the way up to tens of thousands on a busy one. Yet it's claimed that in the entire history of the temple, the prasadam has never once run out. And amazingly, not a single grain of food is ever left over or wasted at the end of the day. Then there's the Sudarshan Chakra, the divine weapon of Lord Vishnu, perched right at the very top of the temple. Our source points out this fascinating architectural, or maybe miraculous, optical illusion. It goes like this. No matter where you're standing in the city of Puri, no matter your angle or direction, if you look up at the chakra, it will always appear to be facing you directly. Moving on to Section 4, Strict Traditions and Exclusivity. Shifting gears a bit, the source impartially reports on the unbending ancient traditions governing the temple's human element. Specifically, inner temple access is granted exclusively to practicing Hindus. So anyone of another faith, no matter how devoted they are or what their status is only permitted to view the temple from the outside and make their offerings from out there. And they aren't kidding about these rules. They compromise for absolutely no one. The source details some high-profile examples to really drive this home. Former Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi was barred from entry just because she had the Parsi surname of her husband. In 2005, a Thai princess couldn't get in because foreigners are strictly prohibited. The source even notes a Swiss woman who made a massive donation of 1.78 crore rupees. She was still forced to be the deities from the outside, simply because she was not Hindu. Wealth, royal blood, political power, none of it gets you past those doors. Which brings us to Section 5, the Grand Rath Yatra and Preserving Traditions. The source outlines the famous Rath Yatra, which is this epic 9-day chariot festival that brings in millions of devotees every year. The idea here is really beautiful. The gods actually leave their inner sanctum to go out and mingle with the public, directly witnessing the joys and sorrows of the people. Adding to that, these deities are treated in an incredibly human-like way. There's this unique tradition where the gods literally fall sick for 15 days out of the year. During that time, they rest, and the temple doors are completely closed to the public so they can recover. As the source wraps up their analysis, they step back from all the specific mysteries to offer a broader philosophical plea. We're just impartially sharing their viewpoint here, but they framed this temple as a crucial pillar for preserving Sanatana Dharma. The creator's argument is basically that people today are blindly following modern trends and completely forgetting their deep cultural and civilizational roots. So they use this conclusion as a passionate call to protect and preserve these ancient sacred traditions. And that really brings us full circle, right back to the beginning. After laying out the unburnt heart, the shadows that defy physics, the inverted cooking pots, and those unwavering traditions, the source leaves its viewers with one exact, very provocative question. Do you think God really exists? It's definitely a fascinating look at where ancient faith meets modern skepticism. Thank you so much for joining me as we unpacked these incredible claims today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.